And now, the time fight fans all across the globe have been waiting for. It's the MTMV main card with your man, The Voice. As always, in the opposite corner, my mano y mano, my verbal sparring partner, the man that claims to have the most luxurious skin on the planet. Now, I have neither confirmed nor will I ever confirm that information. I'm just going to take him at his word. None other than Iron Wiltress Ruffin.
It's me. I'm here. It's me. And the rumors are true. I wash my skin daily in Wakandan water. It's I can't explain it. I can't tell you where I got it from because it's something that I can't share. But the ancestors gave it to me. So every time I step out into the sun, I get the Bruce Leroy glow naturally.
Okay.
So Bruce Leroy ain't got it, and you got it sometimes when you got on your Ozels, but it's on me when I wake up. Okay. You know what I mean? But you know what time it is, Voice? It's smoke o'clock.
Smoke o'clock.
I'm here with the man, the myth, the legend, the man with his own t-shirt. If you ain't got the t-shirt yet, I don't know what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? It has the bright neon lights on it because it screams Voice. Voice used to be the Shogun of St. Louis back in the 80s.
Not used to be. I'm the Shogun of Blackjack to this day. You hear it.
Well, we got some great things to get into. We're gonna talk some great things in the world of combat sports. You know how we do every Tuesday, 7:15 Eastern Standard Time. It's the main card, MTMV Sports. But let's go ahead, Voice, and get into it and get started because I know you have some things you want to talk about. UFC 285. Voice, so many things happen. So many things happen between John Jones reestablishing what many are calling his GOAT status, Valentina taking a shocking loss.
What's it?
Voice, I mean, we even discussed last week that yes, anything can happen, but come on now. So you're saying
okay? What I'm going to say is, for all of the listeners and viewers out there, pay attention to the words that are coming out of my mouth. I said when it came to Valentina that this bout was going to show one of two things: either that her fight against Santos was a misfire, or that she was running out of gunpowder. And it seemed like it was the latter of the two. She was doing good. She was doing really, really good until she wasn't. That spinning heel kick, much like what Chris Weidman did versus Luke Rockhold, cost her the whole fight. Could she have kept up what she was doing and won the fight? It's quite probable, possible. I mean, she was winning that round and she would have gone up 3-1 going into the last round. Would she have had the energy to continue on is really the question, because she was getting her shots stopped by Grasso, which changed the complexion of things because that was the only way that she was beating her.
So I got to see they were showing behind the scenes footage of Izzy watching a bout, and he was shocked that Grasso got the tap out also, and even reading up and coming into the show, I was reading up on that also. So I guess my first question to you is, where do the two fighters go from here? Because even when they asked Valentina did she want the rematch, she said she wanted the immediate revenge. Which I thought was just amazing in itself. So what do you see happening next? How quickly do we get this rematch, or does Grasso go another route first and then come back?
The UFC has set a precedent when it comes to long reigning champions. You held the belt for a couple years and you lose, then you get an immediate rematch. Look at the next pay-per-view, which is in just 2 weeks. It's an immediate rematch between Leon Edwards and Kamaru Usman. Israel Adesanya is going to be fighting next month in an immediate rematch. So again, if you have held the title for a while, the precedence has been set. You get an immediate rematch, so that's what's going to happen. When it happens is the greatest question. Would they love to do something around Cinco de Mayo in Mexico City? Yeah, but for real, nobody celebrates Cinco de Mayo outside of the US, with the exception of the place that Cinco de Mayo comes from in Mexico. So if they went there, which is Puebla, they went to Puebla and did it. Yeah, they do gangbusters. They do gangbusters anyway, but if you're trying to link it to the Mexican community, Mexican Americans, yeah, but Mexicans, not so much. Do it in September around Mexican Independence Day. Yeah, then now you're linking with the people. Are they going to wait that long? Probably not, because Valentina is one who generally does not take much time off. She's been a very active champion, one of the more active champions. Grasso didn't. She didn't even really look like she was in the fight. I mean, she had a little bit of swelling on the side of her face, but that was about it. So as long as there are no injuries, I could see this happening in March, or even being the co-main on the international fight week card.
Okay, well that's understandable. I mean, it'll definitely be great to see. Um, I love the excitement of it. It's one of the, everybody knows before main card, I watched some MMA, but I got a chance to actually watch that, and it was just like, oh, okay, so that's what it looks like, and everyone around me was just like, yeah, that they were shocked at how much it happened. Now, moving on from the shock to what I guess many don't feel was a shock. John Jones returned to form, of course. Um, were you shocked at how quickly he won? I mean, everyone was kind of expecting that he was going to defeat Cyril Gane, but were you shocked at how quickly he won? And also his comments afterwards. What were your thoughts on that?
I'll take it last to first. So comments afterward. No, I wasn't shocked. I mean, this is John Jones. This is what he does. This is how, or I should say, as far as his on mic presence is concerned, this is John Jones. So no, him saying and um, um, calling out Stipe. I mean, he called out DC after he won. So this is nothing new. This is just John Jones. As far as how things happen, as we said, there were many questions to be answered in this fight. One of the things is an editorial. I had heard that his fiance of 20 some odd years left him. Well, they were showing a whole bunch of PDA on the way to and in and out of the cage on last Saturday. So it is what it is. God bless her. Um, and I hope they all get the help that they need. Regardless, could he do that? Yeah, we knew that he could. Did I expect it to happen as easily as it happened? No, not at all. I mean, that shocked like everyone. And for me, it still leaves some questions because it happened so quickly and so effortlessly. It's like, okay, I know he's good. I know he's really good. He can do it, pretty much anything. He did it, but he didn't even get hit. He didn't face any kind of adversity at all. Just kind of got close to him, pushed him down, took his back. I mean, the way that he did it was excellent. And if you look online, you'll see, which is another something that I mentioned last week. Told you, yeah, I got to listen to the words coming out of my mouth. I said that him working with Henry Cejudo was a big thing. It was a bit questionable because of some of the people not being around, or at least to my knowledge, not being around. And I was wrong. Brandon Gibson was working with him on striking. Uh, Greg Jackson was in his corner, but they didn't have to say anything because he won so easily and quickly. What really did it for him, though, was that time with Henry Cejudo. Someone did a split screen of Henry walking John through that specific scenario and what to do in that specific scenario. And he did it masterfully and became the champion. So, with all that being said, it looks like John Jones is back and possibly better than before.
Well, it definitely did not come without any kind of controversy. As I don't know if you got a chance to see it right before he actually came out for the fight. The NAC actually stopped him because they felt he had too much tape.
Oh yeah,
on his feet, and he even stated that if he couldn't have the tape on his feet, that he wasn't going to fight. So it kind of made sense when it kind of made even more sense when they stated that Dana White had a backup just in case because of how problematic they feel John can be. Before we wrap this up, I wanted to get your thoughts on Francis Ngannou. Dana White stated after the bout that negotiations had completely broken off. Francis even stated himself that he didn't think that the bout between him and John Jones would ever happen. So before we go into our break, I wanted to ask your thoughts on that. As far as, do you feel like we're ever going to truly understand, truly ever get an understanding of who the real champion is, as long as Ngannou and Jones doesn't happen?
Well, you said as long as that doesn't happen. There will always be questions as long as that doesn't happen. Just like there were questions regarding the greatest heavyweight when Fedor was in his heyday because he didn't get a chance to face Randy Couture. Thought that it was going to happen, and then UFC put a kibosh on that, and they were never able to get it done for it to happen in the UFC. So from that perspective, there will always be a question mark if, and I stress if, that fight doesn't happen, because there's one thing that trumps everything, especially in fight sports, because this is they're fighting for a purse, they're fighting for money, and if the money makes it make sense, which it very well could. Let John Jones beat Stipe and beat him as easily as he beat Gane. There's nobody else really out there for him. There really isn't. And definitely not anyone that he'd be up to fighting, so he wouldn't get up for the fight. It'd be another Dominic Reyes, Thiago Santos kind of situation, Anthony Smith kind of situation. So they're going to want to make a fight for John, and that's going to be about the only fight out there for him. Now that negotiations have broken off, and now that some of Francis's true intentions have been put out there, it's like, look, I wasn't looking for anything. I'm just looking for you all to make some kind of concession. Do you think that financially they will make those concessions to make this fight happen when John has nobody to fight? Time will tell, but I feel like they may try to give a little to get a whole lot.
It just feels like they're setting themselves up to be backed into a corner, because as great as John Jones is for the sport, it almost makes it seem like he's also problematic for the sport in that sense. If there's nobody else left, but you can't really blame that on John Jones. That's on Dana White. Dana White is the person who literally signs the contracts and makes all these things happen. You have to bring in more people. You have to bring in more people, and you have to make it so that people have an ability to see more exciting fights and see more things happen. This is the same thing that we've been talking about in boxing, with no one being able to make the big fights. If you have these opportunities, you have to put your pride aside and you have to make those big fights. So that'll be definitely interesting to see moving forward. Now, when we come back, we got some great things to get into. Bellator 292, Tszyu versus Jan. Tszyu versus Harrison. Jan is in action, and also we get a chance to see Usman against Henderson in the Grand Prix finals. We got a quick break with our Ozell brand, and we'll be right back.
It's not just about the love of the game. It's about dedication and commitment through the process and the patience to endure. There's joy in reaching your goals and peace in knowing you've done all you're supposed to do. Ozell brand. It's not just a brand, it's a lifestyle.
Shout out to our awesome sponsor. If you have not, please make sure that you visit the Ozell brand website and get you a pair ASAP. You know how Voice does. Voice be wearing them drinks. Voice, have you gotten some new pair yet? Or are you still rocking the Voice originals?
Still got my St. Louis specials. Looking to add to my my wardrobe with more things that'll match it. I saw this Penny Hardaway throwback. I was like, ooh, that might work real well with the Moselle. So
y'all got the XFL team out there now.
Oh yeah, we got the Battlehawks. Lord's will, I will be covering the inaugural game for the season later on this week, and they definitely have the colors. So yeah, I'm getting some Battlehawks gear to rock with the Ozels.
Definitely MTMV. We always stand out there. Shout out to the homie V, man. She was definitely out there. We getting to it. We doing all this for you. So let's go ahead and get into some amazing combat sports event. Now, in about where literally bad blood has been brewing since UFC 273, No Mercy is going to be meeting the Machine as former UFC bantamweight champion Peter Yan is going to be meeting Mirab at UFC Fight Night 221. That's going to be happening Saturday at the theater at the Virgin Hotels in Paradise, Nevada. Now, while the two fighters have never physically met, they're very familiar with one another after Yan made threats against Aljamain Sterling and his camp, which the Machine was actually a part of. This was something that Mirab took personally. He said that if he didn't have a fight, of course I would slap him. Especially, he said right before when he was getting to Aljo, Peter said, and I'm just going to repeat his words, when I see Aljo and Aljo's teams, we will kill and smash his team. That's what he mentioned. Like, what? I'm his team. I'm Aljo's team. He wants to smash me. Now, on top of getting revenge, a win for Mirab could place him within arm's reach of a bantamweight title shot. Now, the two fighters are literally coming in, but they're going in significantly different directions. With Mirab in his last 8, and he's won his last 8, and Yan has dropped 3 of his last 4, with 2 of those losses coming to the Machine's friends, Aljamain Sterling. So, Voice, I want to get your thoughts on Mirab's thoughts process going into this fight, and where does Yan go after this? Because I mean, 3 of the last 4 you've dropped, and you're still kind of. I would think you would come into this bout a little bit more humble. And on the media scrum, he has not been humble so far.
Well, when you are, the former champion, and when you have been as dominant as Mirab has been, you don't get there by platitudes and being nice. At least most people don't. You get there by talking that talk and walking that walk. Now, granted, it's not the last 4 fights he's lost. He's lost 3 of his last 5 fights. He won 2, but he's lost 3 of those fights. And yeah, it's as I shared last week when we talked about John Jones. And Yan is a former champion. In order to be a champion in combat sports, or I should say fight sports, we won't go down that road today. And Crispy's not here to talk pro wrestling, so we won't worry about that.
Don't you hate on the greatest square circle sport ever?
It's not a sport. So you have to be delusional to be a fighting champion. And Yan is just speaking in his delusion to say all of these things, because really this is do or die time for him. He got disqualified fighting Aljo. Then he beat former interim champ Corey Sandhagen, and then he's had back-to-back losses to Aljo in a split decision and O'Malley in a split decision. So this is really for relevancy. If he loses this fight, then he goes to gatekeeper status. Merab, on the other hand, this is the third champion that he has fought in a row. He fought and defeated Marlon Moraes. Then he fought and defeated Jose Aldo, sent him into retirement. And now he's fighting Piotr Jan. So, this is wonderful. And really, Merab has been the true gatekeeper for Aljo, because he's been taking out anybody who wants to come to get the title so that the title can stay there at Serra-Longo. Aljo has said that he's not long for this weight class, that he's looking to move up, to give Merab his chance to be the champion, because they're not going to fight each other. So in order to give Merab his chance to hold the strap, he's going to be moving up soon. Will he be fighting Triple C? It looks like it, and they've been going back and forth. I don't know if you all have seen any of the things, but backstage at 285, they got into it. So that's building, and more than likely, that's the way that things will go, unless he fights Sean O'Malley. Either way it goes, Merab should be a fight away from either the title or fighting maybe for an interim title. But he's really on the cusp of not just title contention, but fighting for a title. And as you stated, Jan talked all this stuff about Aljo and his team. So this is the third time that Aljo's team has prepared for Piotr Jan. And Jan is a Sambo practitioner. He knows how to fight, he's been doing his thing for quite some time and has a good understanding. And his camp has an excellent understanding of what they're facing, because they've prepared for him now 3 times. So I'm looking forward to seeing how everything plays out. Will Jan get back into the winner's circle and keep himself vying for a title, or will Merab take the step that he needs to achieve the glory that he seems destined for?
Yeah, this is definitely big for both fighters. Merab is currently the number 3 fighter, currently the number 3 ranked fighter in the UFC bantamweight rankings. His last win was actually against Jose Aldo at UFC 278. Now Jan, meanwhile, as you stated, he's literally kind of fallen out. Even his fight of the night against Sean O'Malley, which was his last loss, another loss for Jan can possibly leave him directionless almost. So that's definitely going to be a big deal to see. Make sure that you tune in to UFC Fight Night for that. Now let's move on to a little boxing. Now this Saturday, March 11th, at the Kudos Bank Arena in Sydney, Australia, Tim the Soul Taker Tszyu, his undefeated record in the ring for the vacant interim WBO junior middleweight title, when he's going to be facing a former WBC middleweight champion in Tony Superbad Harrison, in a bout that shockingly has left Harrison, for lack of a better word, shocked. Now, he was shocked that this is even happening. Now, according to him, Tszyu is the current WBO mandatory challenger for Jermell Charlo's championship, but he decided to actually take on Harrison while he waited for the champion's hand to heal to take that bout. Now, while the bout will take place in the Soul Taker's home of Sydney, Harrison is the one person who's blemished Charlo's record and feels he would not have taken the bout, and feels like maybe Tszyu shouldn't have taken the bout and instead just kind of sat out and waited. But he also questions Tszyu's place as a challenger. He recently stated, "I think he's an excellent example for Australia. I think he's a tough competitor, and I think he's balls to the wall. But I like to win. You're going to get the best of Tim, and in and out of everything he steps into that ring, right? but I do think he's a flawed Tim. I do think he hasn't faced any level of opposition. Now, Tszyu's heard that, and he's remained gracious, even when speaking about Harrison, even stating that the way that he said that the way that he approaches the fight is that it's a next level fight, but he's not shying away from a challenge. Now, Tony Harrison is at 28. He said Tony Harrison is 28 years of age with 20 fights in. Someone would have to take a shot on him and do the same exact thing that's happening with me. Every champion was once a contender, and every champion was once at the point where they would say their resume isn't good, then the backlash. So the funny thing about this is, while Tszyu is taking this, I guess to basically stay fresh for the bout with Charlo, if Harrison wins, he potentially gets that shot instead of Tszyu. So, Voice, what are your thoughts on the fact that Harrison not only feels as though Tszyu should have sat out, but also what are your thoughts on the fact that he feels as though that Tszyu has not fought too many great fighters to be in his current position?
Now, saying that he should have sat out and is now fighting against him, that doesn't bode well in my mind for Harrison, because it sounds like he's like, okay, well, I mean, you really shouldn't be fighting anybody, but if you want to fight, then I guess I'll fight you. And really, for Harrison, this is last hurrah. The man is like 39 years old, and he hasn't really fought very actively recently. Has he been active? Yes, he has been active, because he is a trainer, and I believe he trains Alicia Baumgardner. He may also have a hand in training Clarissa Shields, with them all being in that same area. So he's been in the ring. He's been active. He just hasn't been active as a fighter. The last time he fought twice in a year was 2018. No, it was 2019. The last time he won was in 2018. Yeah, so he did win, he did win his. No, it wasn't his last bout. That was he did. He did win his last bout. I take that back. But before then, he hadn't won since 2018. He's at a draw, and that win was over Charlo in 2018. But his most recent one, I forget who it was against. It wasn't anyone.
Sergio Garcia.
Thank you, Sergio Garcia. But he's had draws. He's lost to Charlo again after talking big game. I beat you already, and I already won, and so forth and so on, and he gets knocked out. So again, Harrison, I think he's got a point saying that Tim's resume is paper thin. He beat Terrell Gausha. Okay, Terrell Gausha. The biggest name on his resume is Horn. That is the Jeff Horn. That is the most notable fighter that the young Tszyu has faced and bested, because he's 21-0. So he's got a point to say, look, you really haven't fought anybody, especially you haven't fought anybody to be ranked number one. Now, granted, even though, like you said, Tim has been very respectful and views Harrison as a next level opponent, this isn't the biggest opponent in his career. You spoke about Charlo. That fight was supposed to happen in January had Charlo not gotten hurt. He was training for it. They both were training for it, getting ready to go into that fight. So, he's had that big camp feel, even though Harrison is the biggest name on his resume to date. He's had that big camp feel, and he was getting ready to go in against the undisputed champion, the man who beat you to take the title in Charlo. And really, this win, because it's for the interim title, should keep Tszyu, if he won, in contention for that Charlo bout. Also puts Harrison in there too, and with it being 1-1, that's a fight many people, myself included, would like to see. Do I like Harrison's chances, anything's possible, but especially as you get further and further along in life, and you're still fighting, it doing anything sports wise gets a little difficult.
Now, is what I find interesting about Harrison's comments is even if you don't feel as though Tszyu has fought a lot of bouts, if you take a look at his record since 2017, he's either fought for a championship or he's defended a title every bout except maybe one. So
Yeah,
I mean,
these are interim titles and intercontinental titles and world titles, or I shouldn't say world, global titles. It's not the real thing.
even if you a champion or you go to the champion, you a champion. So you still, I mean, you might not be fighting that level of competition that he feels, but I mean, you kind of got to give it to him a little bit. I mean, he shows up, he shows out, he's undefeated, so it's definitely a good look now for Harris. I know we talked about the possibility of him fighting Charlo, and he's fought him twice. And as you stated, he lost the last time. The last time that they fought, he was actually knocked down, I believe, 3 different times before the referee actually just stopped the fight. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, especially considering the fact that many feel as though that Tszyu has the ability to definitely go in and create a great match with Charlo. So it'll be interesting to see. Now, moving on, this Friday, March 10th at the SAP Center in San Jose, the bracket for the Bellator 292 lightweight World Grand Prix tournament is going to become significantly smaller. Now, in the night's co-main event, the number 2 rank takes on the number 4 rank when Tofiq Musayev takes on Alexander Shabliy in an exciting bout. But it's one that has left both fighters a bit confused after neither received the title shot that they felt they deserved. Now, for Shabliy, he actually beat ex-champ Brent Primus last year in a bout he felt would make him the number 1 contender. Meanwhile, Musayev made his promotional debut filling in for the then champion Pitbull and quickly defeated then challenger Sidney Outlaw in 27 seconds. And that left many to believe that he will become then the number 2 ranked fighter and due for a title shot. Now, instead, both men are on the card in the co-main event, but they'll be watching as Benson Henderson will face Usman for that lightweight world championship on the other side of the bracket. Now, both fighters are seeing this matchup as a statement match and a precursor to championship gold. Voice, with both fighters making the statements that they feel as though they deserve to be in that championship bout, who do you feel needs this win more, and who's the better matchup potentially for Usman if he retains?
As far as who needs it more, I don't know that either needs it more. The person with seemingly the most upside and the one who has more push behind them, whether it be just because of the absolute demolition job that he did against Sidney Outlaw, stopping him in less than a minute in their fight, as well as being a former rising champion. It seems as if Tofiq would benefit more by winning than Shabliy. I mean, yeah, he's beat some people, but yeah, I mean, he beat Brent Primus, which is that's nothing to sneeze at. Don't get me wrong, that's nothing to sneeze at, but that's really like your first real, notable victory as well.
It was a TKO though.
Okay, but that's your first notable victory. Now, granted, again, he's probably not only did he beat Brent Primus, he's probably the first one to stop Brent Primus, at least by strikes. So I'm not saying that what he did wasn't notable. Is it enough to say, yes, you are supposed to be the next? No. Could it put you in contention? Yes, but come on, we have I'm sorry, let me save that for later. But the person who got it, we're going to talk about why they got it in a moment. Again, I think they both need it, because in order to be champion, you're going to have to win for them on their side of the bracket. You're going to have to beat two different people just to fight for the title. So in their title hopes, they both need to continue to be victorious. But as far as who has more to lose, it'd be Tofiq.
Definitely. Well, I mean, it's going to be a great bout, and it's interesting when you look at the numbers for the two. So, of note, Tofiq's 20 career wins in MMA, 16 of those have come by knockout. Now, in contrast, Shabliy comes into the quarterfinals. He's on a 7-fight win streak at 22-3. Of the losses he has, he's never been knocked out. So it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen. Most of the media prediction I've seen, everyone believes that it's going to be a first round knockout by Tofiq, but it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But it's already going to be a stacked, amazing card, Bellator 292. Make sure you tune in. Now, moving on, it's exciting news. The Voices marquee matchup. Let's go. This week's Voices marquee matchup sees Michael Page return to Bellator after last year's loss in bare knuckle boxing. He actually received the okay from Bellator to actually go and do that bout. He took that loss to Mike Perry, and he's coming in to fight Yamaguchi, who meanwhile is coming to the bout on a 3-fight win streak. So, Voice, tell us why this is this week's Voices marquee matchup.
Well, number one, MVP is must watch. Anytime he's on the card, you want to be in your seat in front of the television, because the potential for something spectacular to happen is very, very high. So anytime MVP is fighting, you want to be there. Like you said, he lost to Storley after beating former champion Douglas Lima. Lost to Storley in a disputed split decision for the interim championship, as Amosov was fighting in Ukraine. Amosov then just dispatched Storley like 2 weeks ago. So, that is what it is. Like you said, he also lost to Mike Perry in bare knuckle FC. I mean, MVP is a world-class striker. Mm-hmm. You're losing to someone who really was made for bare knuckle, being Mike Perry, because he's just a brawler. In all of your striking glory, including boxing professionally, you can't beat Mike Perry in bare knuckle. So you coming in really on 2 losses, although technically it's only 1, because bare knuckle is not MMA. You're coming in on 2 losses. So this is really about redemption for Mike. Not Mike. I keep saying Mike Perry. Michael Venom Page. Sorry, M and P. So yeah, forgive me. But this is really redemption for him and a possible title shot. Because I want to say I checked just before we started, and he's like ranked number 2 in the welterweight division. So he really could be, and probably will be, the champion. The only reason that I believe that interim title came about was because of Amosov. I think he was already supposed to go in, Amosov fighting in Ukraine. I think he was supposed to fight Amosov, if I remember correctly, and they brought Storley in because Amosov was going to be out. They didn't know how long he was going to be out. They didn't know if he was ever coming back, because he was in live combat defending his city. So yeah, he needs this redemption, and if he wants to stay relevant, well, he'll stay relevant. But if he wants to stay relevant when it comes to title contention, then he needs this victory. On the other side, though, is Goiti Yamaguchi, who's 4-1 in his last 5 fights. The 1 fight that he lost, that went to a decision, but the 4 fights that he won, yeah, they didn't make it to the cards. He stopped all of them. Now, Yamaguchi is known for his ground game, but he's developed some striking too. His last victory over Gracie, over Neiman Gracie, he knocked the man out, knocked him out cold with an uppercut. So, his game is evolving. If he wants to win, the best shot is going to the ground, because we all know that is not MVP's strength. And again, by and large, Yamaguchi is known for his grappling. So he's the perfect foil for MVP. Does he get a title shot for beating MVP, as MVP might get for beating Goiti? I don't know, because you got Jason Jackson out there making a whole lot of noise saying, I should be the next to fight for the title. So I don't know if he would get it with a win. Definitely won't get it with a loss. But to stay in that contention range, just like with MVP, they've got to win. This should be, if Goiti's smart, this should be a standard grappler versus striker fight. That's what it should be. If Goiti is feeling himself, then he might be feeling himself getting up off the canvas.
Yeah, this is going to be Goiti's third bout since moving up to welterweight. He's actually 2-0. One win was by submission, another by KO. And it's interesting. He actually has the most submission wins in Bellator MMA history with 9. And he's tied for the most submission wins in Bellator lightweight division history with 5. So that's definitely going to be an interesting bout to see between those two. That's your Voices Marquee matchup for this week. So make sure when you're watching, you scream out Voices Marquee matchup just like I did, or else it's not going to have the same effect. Now, rounding out your weekend for combat sports, we have the night's main event. Now, former WEC and UFC lightweight champion Vincent Henderson is looking to make his championship aspirations a reality when he faces the young undefeated champion Usman in Friday's Grand Prix tournament quarterfinals. This is going to be for the lightweight championship. Now, the 39-year-old Henderson, who literally won his first championship at the same age as his 24-year-old opponent, says he really did not process how big of a deal it was the first time around. And now that he's wiser, he's taken a different approach, considering how quickly in the tournament he's actually receiving the opportunity and actually understanding the moment. He recently stated there's a lot of champions in the Grand Prix. There's 8 of us. I think 5 or 6 were former world champions in MMA. There's a lot of tough guys in there, but definitely I appreciate the matchup. If you want to be champion, you have to beat everybody, right? It doesn't matter if you beat him here or here or here. It doesn't matter. You've got to beat him anyway. He said that to do so, he's literally going to have to study Usman, because if you look at it, Usman is coming in 16 victories, 8 by KO or TKO. Now, Henderson stated when looking at those numbers, he's looking to use his advantage of experience against Usman, stating he's 16-0. You can look up the combined record of his opponents. It's a little bit telling. He's still the champion and he's still the man right now, but definitely you can tell from his opponent's records that he doesn't have a ton of experience inside the cage yet. Now, Usman, meanwhile, he understands the challenge ahead and his advantage, stating when speaking about Henderson, he's a legend. Good experience for me, and I will be ready. I know what he will do, but this is 5 rounds. Big fight, and I hope he will be healthy and in good shape. Now, it'd be good to keep in mind, Usman has study material because Henderson defeated his teammate Islam by decision actually at Bellator 273. So, Voice, I want to get your thoughts on Henderson's statements. Not only his statement of the experience going into the bout and how much of an advantage can it really be for them?
Well, experience is huge, especially when it's a burgeoning career in the fight world. This is a little different, though, because you've got all this experience, and true enough, he does. But this is just like the Tony Harrison fight I was talking about. Like, this is his last hurrah. Yeah, you got a lot of experience. You've been fighting for 17 years. You're 39 years old, which for anything sports wise, for the most part, is old. So yeah, you got this experience, and he's had his ups and downs in Bellator. You spoke about him beating Islam Mammadov, and that being a teammate of Usman. Well, in the cage, he was talking to Habib because Habib was there. He was like, hey, my contract's up. I don't know what's going to happen. I'd love to fight for you. It's like he was making a pitch and they wound up getting re-signed by Bellator. But really, unless he wins out, his career is pretty much done. Like this is it. This is his last shot at glory. And I love Benson Henderson. He fights with a toothpick in his mouth all the time. The dude is my dude. Love Benson Henderson. But I also have been watching Benson Henderson fight since he started fighting back in the WEC, which is why I love him. But he's got to win to maintain his relevance. He loses, he probably has another fight at the most two, and then it's a career for him. Whereas with Usman, he had his coming out party against Pitbull, and everything that Henderson is saying about Usman, Pitbull said, like, you haven't fought anybody. You don't have the experience. And then Usman went in there and whooped the man from pillar to post for 5 rounds and shut everybody else. Like, yeah, he may not have the experience on paper, but he got experience now. He went in there and beat the champ like it was a sparring match. Like Pitbull was getting him ready for a fight, not fighting for the championship. And now being in the Grand Prix, just like AJ McKee, who's also in the Grand Prix and fights Pitbull next. Yeah, this could be his star-making run. AJ really came to prominence winning the featherweight Grand Prix. This could be the same kind of thing for Usman. People are already talking about him, already talking about he's going to be in the UFC in the next 2 years or so. I don't know. He's doing good. He's making a name for himself there. And the way the pay is set up, unless they throw the bag at him, which they may, and they may need to, I don't know that he'd be leaving Bellator. The one thing that I really want to see as far as this fight is concerned is, yeah, Usman has carried the pressure of being undefeated. He's carried the pressure of being a fighter out of Eagle FC, which is where Habib and Abdul Manap have set things up, where all these great fighters are coming from. He carries the Nurmagomedov name, which is royalty now in MMA and synonymous with excellence. But there's one thing that he has not had before that he has now as far as pressure is concerned. He's had all those pressures, but now there's an added pressure. The pressure of being the champion and being a Nurmagomedov and coming from Habib's camp and having an undefeated record. Pressure makes diamonds, but it also bursts pipes. Which will be the way that pressure exerts itself in Usman's life. We'll find out when the pin drops, the cage door locks, the thumbs go up, and they start the clock.
It's going to be interesting to see, definitely, because like you said, Henderson is literally kind of at the end. I mean, I hate to say it that way. Out of his last 5, he's 2-3 with his other win coming in decision against Peter Quilley. So that's definitely going to be an amazing bout. There's an amazing weekend of combat sports. You have everything from boxing to MMA. So we definitely want to get you prepared. We're MTMV Sports. We are literally the fans creating a voice for ourselves. We do this for you. We have some amazing people, an amazing team of individuals. There's so many shows. I don't even want to name all the shows because I always miss it. And somebody's like, yo, you didn't name my show. But everything from not the same podcast to the V Report, MVP University, Full 94. There's a number of different shows that you can view. And we have our upcoming XFL coverage, which is also going to be amazing. Mm-hmm. Also, make sure that you visit our website, MTMVPN, so that you can take a look at some of our merchandise. Also, catch some of the great articles that we have on our website and get to know some of the team. Thank you for tuning in with us. Voice, give us your last words, sir.
Yeah, just in last words, as you can see scrolling at the bottom, we're asking everyone specifically right now, subscribe to us on Spotify. We're trying to get to a certain level there, and your subscription will help. Just look for MTMV Sports there and subscribe. Like you said, we got a full weekend of fights. That Bellator card is so stacked. Julius Anglickas is fighting. Josh Hill and Cass Bell are taking on each other. Enrique Barzola is fighting Eric Perez. Valentin Moldavsky is facing Swarm Vassal. I mean, just so much going on that card. And then, in boxing, you got Takam fighting in Paris. You got Diego Pacheco and Jack Cullen in Liverpool. PFL Challenger Series on Friday with Impa Kasangan. I mean, it's so many fights out there. Much too much for us to talk about in this wannabe half hour, but more like an hour show. But yeah, we appreciate you all tuning in. Please subscribe, and when you come on, drop a comment. Tell us where you're from. Give us your take on the fights and on the conversation that we're having. This is my team, my voice, and we want to hear your voice, and we want to put your voice into the sports atmosphere. So tune in, chime in, and let's have some fun together.
Definitely. Thank you for joining us. Make sure you tune in with us every Tuesday, 7:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's Smoke O'Clock.
Smoke O'Clock.
Show up. We want to smoke. Tell us your thoughts. Thank you for tuning in for another one. Voice, take us out.
Until next time, fight the good fight.